Hi there, this is Praying Medic, and welcome to my broadcast on the FISA memo. Let me tell you about a dream I had last night. Good way to start the broadcast. So, man, these Q dreams, I'm telling you. So, in last night's dream, Q showed up again, and Q was posting information. And I had a feeling like this was information we're going to see in the future. So yes, I'm already getting Q drops, and he hasn't even posted them yet. You had an interesting dream with President Trump 2 nights ago. Send me in a private message. I would love, if you have a Trump, if anyone has a dream about the president, send me an email, send me a private message. I'm gathering all the dreams people have about the president. So send it to me. So I had this dream, and Q was posting in the dream. I could see the posts on 8chan that Q was posting. And it was a list of names. It was a list of names of people that had been arrested. And the first one was a long list. I don't know, 9, 10 people. And then there was a later post that updated that list. There was like two or three more people added, and then later again there was another person added. And then a little bit of time went by, and I saw another list of names, and a long list, and then there was a short list. So I am not the kind of person who needs to see a whole bunch of people arrested. That's not why I'm doing this. Some people, they're out for blood. They want vengeance, and they want people arrested. That's not my motivation. It's not why I'm doing this. Look, probably 4 months after the president got elected, when he started toning down the talk about prosecuting Hillary, I was like, okay, Hillary's not going to jail. I'm fine with that. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I don't need to see people go to jail. Okay. What I want to see is I want to see children and women who are in sex slave trade. I want them free. I want to see corruption removed from government, and I want to see our government doing justice. And that's the thing. I really want if the people who were in government were corrupt would just be removed from the government and not allowed to go back in government, I'd be fine. I don't need to see them go to jail. I'm not vindictive, I don't think. But in the dream, I kept seeing these lists and lists of people who were being arrested. Now, here is what my observation about this whole takedown of corruption in government is. I don't think we're going to see a lot of this on the mainstream media. I don't think we're going to see it reported. I think that a lot of it is going to go unreported by the mainstream media, and Q and the people in the intelligence circles who are dropping information to people like Brendan Dilley, they're going to be the ones who are telling us what is going on, because the mainstream media won't report on a lot of this. I don't think. It's going to be an embarrassment to the mainstream media. Look, the mainstream media is complicit in this corruption. A lot of reporters have been paid by the deep state. They're really nothing more than propaganda outlets for the deep state, for the corruption, and they're going to be taken down. They're going to be exposed. A lot of them are going to be arrested. There's people in high places in the media that are already resigning. So is it in their best interest to report on all this corruption? Probably not. How are we going to know what's going on? Q is going to tell us. All right, so that's my dream. Hey, Shannon, how you doing? Glad you're on here. All right, Shannon was rattling my cage on Twitter this morning about this interview with Trey Gowdy on Deface the Nation. And she was flipping out because Trey Gowdy was, singing the praises of Robert Mueller and singing the praises of Rosenstein, and everything's great and everything's happy and everything's awesome. And she's like, what is this crazy guy doing? He's deep state. What's wrong with him? And I said, okay, all right, chill, relax, hang on. Whenever you are listening to a politician talk, you have to realize politicians seldom tell you what they really think. They don't. Politicians don't tell you what they really think. They tell you what they think is in their best interest or what they think you need to know, what you need to hear. So let me ask you this question. If, I'm not saying he is, but if Trey Gowdy were trying to be appointed as a special counsel who's going to investigate the Department of Justice and the FBI, how does he need to be perceived by the general public in the way he views a special counsel? He would need to view the special counsel with respect and a sense of honor and dignity. If you want to be appointed special counsel, you can't talk crap about another special counsel, because as soon as your name gets mentioned as special counsel, they're going to roll the video of you talking trash about Robert Mueller 4 months ago. You can't do that. If you want to be seen perceived by people who are going to be involved in this process, you don't want them thinking you're some partisan hack. All right. So you have to watch your words, and you have to, even if you don't think Robert Mueller is a good guy and he's doing a good job, you can't say that publicly. You have to say, oh, Mueller's doing a great job. He'll continue and everything's going to be fine. Right. Now, if you are a Trump supporter and you hear that, that is going to make your blood boil, because you want Robert Mueller gone. Well, here's the thing. Robert Mueller is not going to go away. He does not need to go away. He needs to do his job. He needs to finish out whatever he wants to do. And then we just move on. And I think it's a good idea to check your emotions when you hear these interviews and you hear these things going on with Rosenstein and Chris Wray. Check your emotions and realize that these people many times are saying things that they need to say for the sake of political expediency. And they're not always telling you the truth. They're not always telling you what's really going on. There is a chess game going on all the time. And when somebody makes a move on a chessboard, you have to analyze, okay, why did he make that move? Is he going after my queen? Is he going after my bishop? What is he trying to do? So just realize there's strategy involved in some of this. All right, let me move on to some observations about the FISA memo. I did a 2-hour broadcast last night on, it was supposed to be on my latest Q update. And then I did a question and answer afterward, which ended up being about an hour and 15 minutes of questions and answers about Q. But a lot of it ended up talking about the Department of Justice and FBI and corruption and the FISA issues and other investigations that are going on. So if you're interested in getting a lot of information on that, either catch my last night's Periscope, or it's on YouTube. I just uploaded it. It took me like 3 or 4 hours to render and edit that video. When I wasn't checking my emails, I was working on that video. So that's on YouTube from last night. There are a couple of things I'd like to talk about today concerning the FISA memo. Some issues that are being overlooked by most commentators. All right. So if you have been following my Periscopes for the last 2 months, some of this is going to be review for you. You already know this stuff. But for those of you who don't know this, I'm going to do a little review of the FISA court and the different ways that people get warrants through the FISA court, because this will help explain what's going on. There is a law that authorizes the FISA court. It's called the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. The court is called FISC. It's a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. It is the most secret court in America. It is literally, I think, in the basement of Main Justice. Everything that goes on there is classified. They never allow reporters in there. All the documents that come out of there are classified. When the FISA court is convened, they only allow prosecutors. There are no defense attorneys allowed there, because anyone who is going to be a target of a FISA warrant is suspected of being a threat to national security generally, or a spy, or involved in some counterintelligence operation. So you go there because you want to get surveillance or spy on people who are bad actors, and they don't have defense attorneys. A representative from the FBI and the DOJ can go there. They can present an affidavit which has evidence, and they ask for a warrant. And there are a couple of different ways in which they do that. And the ones that are important for this discussion, there is what's known as a Title VII FISA application, and there's a Title I FISA application. And they are very different for different purposes. Okay. So over the last couple of months, we have been talking about Title VII, and that takes on the FISA 702. Okay. And we've been talking about FISA 702s for a long time. 702 is it's an American citizen who their surveillance is being done on through the FISA court and through the FISA database. Okay, 702 refers to an American citizen who is being surveilled under Title VII of the FISA Act. All right, so we were under the assumption for the last 3 or 4 months that this whole, FISA going into the database, getting the information, getting the warrants and all that stuff was based on a Title VII application, and it wasn't. This whole thing involves a Title I application, which is completely different. So we have learned a lot about FISA court, but the actual way that they're doing this is not the way we thought it was. And the way that it's actually being done is much more nefarious. So under Title VII, if you're doing a 702 application and you want to access the FISA database under 702, under Title VII, that is called incidental collection of intelligence on a U.S. citizen. Normally what needs to happen is you need to either have evidence that a foreign agent is involved in some type of terrorist activity or some threat to national security, and they're communicating with an American citizen. You're surveilling the foreign citizen, and you're incidentally collecting information on the American citizen. That is how it typically goes. The incidental collection on an American citizen under 702 is not very pervasive. It's not real extensive information. It's only incidental. It's, the Russian person or the Korean person was talking to the American citizen. They had an email they exchanged. They had a phone call. And what you're really doing under 702 is you're looking at the information that is being exchanged with the foreign citizen, and normally the conversation on the American side is masked. You don't get to look at that information. All right. Unmasking can be done if you can prove to the FISA court that the American citizen is a threat to national security. But even then, all you're doing is you're looking at incidental phone calls, text messages, and maybe some emails, and only on that American citizen. And the foreign person who is actually the target of the surveillance. So here's what you need to know. FISA 702 gives you very limited information on the targets. It's limited. On the foreign target, they can go and get all the information they want. On the American target, it's very limited. Now, we have been working on the assumption over the last 2 or 3 or 4 months that Carter Page and Manafort and Trump were being surveilled under FISA 702. which allows very limited access to information. It's only incidental collection. And you have to be working on a foreign target, generally speaking. All right. Well, you can take that whole thing and throw it out the window, because that is not what they were using to surveil Carter Page. They were using Title I. Title I is completely different. So let me give you a description of Title I FISA. Title I is the FISA warrant you would apply for if you thought the target is a spy, is acting on behalf of a foreign government, and they are the target of a counterintelligence investigation. It allows for complete and total surveillance, live surveillance, retroactive surveillance. You can go back and look at records of their communications in the past, and you can look at information regarding anyone that they communicate with in their circle, in their sphere of influence. Anyone, friends, family, connections, anyone. You can look at everyone who has a conversation with the target. You can look at all their emails, all their phone records, all their text messages, all their communications. Everyone who comes in contact with that target for a Title I, you can look at everything with anyone that they're connected to. That is a very, very wide net. When you do a Title I FISA search, you get this massive return of data, and it could involve thousands of people. And it gives you everything that you want to know about everybody who has any contact with that person. All right, because the person is deemed to be a spy who is working for a foreign government and poses a clear and present danger to the American government. So because the threat of a Title I target is so great, they give you great ability to surveil that person and everyone they're in contact with. That is not the case with FISA 702. With 702, it's just incidental collection. All right, and it's very minimal information. With Title I, they can dig into every part of your life and every part of the life of everyone you're in contact with. And Carter Page was a volunteer with the Trump campaign for about a month or two. And that's the whole thing. They used Title I because they wanted to get information on everybody on the Trump campaign. All right. So let me just explain what that means. That means that it wasn't just Manafort and Page and Trump that they were doing surveillance on. They could do surveillance on everybody on the campaign, anyone Carter Page came in contact with. It's literally, if you had any exposure, any connection to Carter Page, they could dig through every part of your life and dredge out all the information: text, emails, phone calls, voicemails, everything. They could literally spy on everybody on the Trump campaign because of Title I, because that's what they were using. Now, here is the difficult part of this. Because Title I is such a serious breach of the Fourth Amendment. I mean, like, the Fourth Amendment is the amendment that grants us privacy against unreasonable search and seizure. A Title I FISA warrant totally strips you of any privacy at all. They can have agents following you. They're listening to all your phone calls, and not the recorded stuff that's stored in the database. They're monitoring you live, and they're monitoring all your conversations, and all your contacts are being monitored. All right, because it is such a severe breach of the Fourth Amendment. The bar of evidence you have to produce in FISA court is very high. All right, you have to show a lot of evidence, and all of the evidence has to be verified because it's such a breach of your Fourth Amendment rights. this is a very serious thing. In addition to that, Title I surveillance for FISA court has to be signed off by the director of the FBI or the deputy director of the FBI and the the attorney general or the assistant attorney general. The other option in the DOJ is the deputy attorney general who is in charge of national security. So there's 3 people in the Department of Justice who are allowed to sign off on a Title I FISA warrant application, and there's 2 people in the FBI, and it's the top 3 people in the Department of Justice and 2 people in the FBI. They're the only ones who can sign those warrant applications, and Comey signed 3, McCabe signed 1, Sally Yates probably signed 2, Dana Bente signed 1, Rod Rosenstein signed 1. It goes to top level people in the department because it's a very serious level of intrusion. And the thing is, when you're presenting evidence for a FISA court for Title I, you have to have really, really solid evidence, generally speaking. It's that serious. That's the issue. I mean, you can't, this is not like a 702. This is completely different. Title I is completely different. So that is why using the Steele dossier to get a Title I FISA warrant is such a heinous crime, because Jim Comey himself told America and told Trump that the dossier was salacious and unverified. All right, juicy details. We weren't able to verify any of it. We don't really know if it's factual. And they used that to get a warrant, and they didn't tell the court. They didn't tell the court. It was a pile of rumors and, you know, it's political opposition research. I talked extensively last night about how they develop political opposition research. You pay somebody a bunch of money and they just go and dig up dirt. And some of it is true, some of it's not true. A lot of it isn't true. It's rumor, innuendo, and things of that nature. So they didn't tell the court that the dossier was not verified. They didn't tell the court that the Clinton campaign funded it and that it was opposition research. They didn't tell the court that the guy who put it together, Christopher Steele, had been fired by the FBI as an informant because he violated several laws. They didn't tell the court any of that. They went in and lied to the court on a number of different issues to get the worst kind of surveillance authority you could. And they could spy on the entire Trump campaign, everybody on the campaign, with that warrant. And they did that not once, not twice, not 3 times. They did it 4 times. They had 4 opportunities to go in there and tell the court, look, you know, this dossier is crap. It's a bunch of lies. It's not verified. The article, the Yahoo News article that we used to support the dossier was actually based off of the dossier. The guy who wrote the article took the information from the dossier. There was many different ways in which this whole thing went sideways, and it's very creepy how they did it. A former deputy, I think he was the deputy director of the FBI, James Kallstrom, said, these are the charges that these people could potentially face for doing this. He said criminal contempt, false statements, conspiracy to lie to a court, depriving American citizen of civil rights, and perjury. Those are the charges that he came up with off the top of his head, just looking at what they did. So there is some there's some pretty bad stuff. When you dig into this whole thing and understand what's going on, they did some really dirty things. And there are other investigations going on. I was listening to an interview with Peter King, who's a representative from New York, and he said, he's kind of spilled the beans. He said that the House Intelligence Committee has a number of investigations that are still going on, one of which is the Russian interference in the election. They're still working on that investigation. They're also investigating the CIA and the intelligence community's assessment of the Russian threat to the election. When Hillary said in the campaign in 2016, that there were 17 intelligence agencies that all agreed that there was, Russian hacking of the election. That actually wasn't true. That was based on a CIA assessment. It was a CIA, NSA, FBI, and one other agency. I think there was either 3 or 4 agencies. There was only 3 or 4 that looked at and wrote this assessment. And the NSA, Mike Rogers, actually would not sign off on that assessment. He said that it couldn't be substantiated. So the House Intel Committee is looking at that assessment, and they're doing an investigation. A report will be coming on that. There is also a report on the State Department involvement in all of this. And I don't know what that means. And it's not the State Department in the emails. It sounds like, from what I've heard from Devin Nunes and Peter King, the State Department was somehow involved in the surveillance. And I don't know what that looks like. We're going to find out in the future. That'll come out. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got for you tonight on the FISA memo. A lot of people were disappointed when it came out. I wasn't. It pretty much told me what I thought it was going to say, other than it gave us names and it let us know that the surveillance was going on for a lot longer than we realized, and who the people were who were involved in it. So it has been a long day for me. I don't have a whole lot more for you. I think I'm going to jump off of here. Look, it would be a good idea to keep the president in prayer, keep Congress in prayer, keep all of our leaders in prayer. Keep me in prayer. And pray for me to have another dream. If you have a dream that has to do with the president, send it to me. I'd like to read it. On that note, I think I'm going to let you all go. I love you. Take care. I'll be praying for you. Get some sleep tonight, and I will catch you on the next broadcast.